We're right at 8 p.m. So we'll ask Vivek to please take over and continue the workshop.
Great. Everyone is well? Good. I can see many that are well, but there's many that I can't see that are well right now. So everyone, please turn your cameras on. And let me see your notebooks also. Everyone show me. Very good. I was sharing with our Chinmaya Mission Cleveland families recently that whenever you hear or read the word Chinmaya, an automatic sentiment that should come with that is discipline. If there isn't discipline, then really that's not Chinmaya. Okay? We'll begin formally. Oh. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakadeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om and greetings from Niagara Falls. Our religion, Sanatana Dharma, has many creation theories. In the Upanishad alone, there are 64 creation theories, different theories based on maturity. Fine. In a typical creation theory, the period when creation just commences is known as Satya Yuga. Yuga means period. Satya means non-compromising. At the beginning of creation, no one compromised on their ideals, which is why they were most comfortable with themselves and others. All that is created gets old. With atrophy, the present period that we're living in is called Kali Yuga. I explained that means fast. It is also known as Asatya Yuga, a time when people compromise on their ideals, on discipline, on purpose. And so they don't feel comfortable with themselves and they don't feel comfortable with others either. This is becoming more clear. I had shared because of the virtual world we're living in. It is difficult for us to be by ourselves. We constantly feel lonely. A more casual reference to loneliness, because we don't want to admit that, is FOMO, the fear of missing out. And we can't be with others either. We feel anxiety. More casually, people describe this as an awkward silence, or being socially awkward. And so we have developed this workshop on learning to be natural, to be comfortable with others, to be comfortable with oneself, to not compromise on our ideals. Through this workshop, I'm aspiring to take you on a journey that begins with our nature. And this is a strange journey that from our nature, what happens? We start to feel unnatural. We have to start to re-feel being natural so that we can as if come back to our nature. So this is the journey that we're going on. And if everything I've shared is too poetic for you right now, Yuga, compromise, journey, the vision of this workshop is for all of us to feel more secure. For those who feel insecure, you can't do anything in life then. And those who feel secure, they can do everything in life. Just in the past 24 hours, I'm confident those who practiced what I tried to encourage you to practice, you would have felt that today was a more secure day. Yes? Our kids learn this game. I don't know who they learned it from, but it's called Dizzy Dizzy Dinosaur. Do you all know that game? Do you play Dizzy Dizzy Dinosaur? What you do is just spin in a circle. We call that pradakshina, no? But we only do that 3 times. They just keep on spinning until they become dizzy. But that's dangerous because they may fall on that table or on a toy. But I can't stop them from playing because it's so important. Dizzy, dizzy dinosaur. So when I sense that they're becoming too dizzy, then I encourage them to look at, let's say, the fridge or a tree outside. Because when they're disoriented, when they focus on that which is oriented, it helps them, correct? So for us, this sense of being unnatural, we need an icon of that which is natural. And the word I used yesterday was, we are bhagya to have icons like Bhagwan Krishna and Bhagwan Rama. Bhagwan is ever available to us. So how come we can't hear Bhagwan or see Bhagwan? Because we're not ever available for Bhagwan. And Bhagwan is most gracious, even though we can't hear or see him. What Bhagwan has given us is a map. This map is the life and teachings of these icons that are natural, that are engaged in rightness or righteousness. The maps that we're exploring are Srimad Bhagavatam and Shri Ramayana. In terms of Bhagavatam, the specific portion that we are referencing to learn to be natural, this is the 10th section, the 20th chapter, and this begins in the 4th verse, where Shri Krishna is sitting beside Shri Balarama. You have to visualize this, that Shri Krishna is almost leaning on Shri Balarama. That they want to play outside, they want to be with the calves and the cows, but they can't because it's raining so hard. And all of the gopis and all of the gopas are sitting around too, and they're observing and learning from nature. That is a very beautiful visualization. Can you all visualize that? I remember being in the ashram. It was a year into our course. And so the monsoons had come back for the second time. And at that time, we had begun our study of Bhagavad Gita And before we got into the Dhyana shlokas proper, then Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayananda spoke about the Mahabharata for 10 days. And it was one of the most epic experiences because you all know that he's a master, and he's a master as if storyteller. And these classes would be at 4 p.m. So everyone had their naps and their baths. We're like babies, we woke up from our nap and we took our shower. And now we sit together and he would be speaking to us, and it would be raining outside and it would be dark. And I felt he could have spoken for 10 hours a day for 10 days and nobody would have wanted to move. That's how natural everyone felt. A similar context is presented in the Ramayana, where Sri Rama and Sri Lakshmana are together. And they haven't met a lot of the jungle beings thus far. They've met Hanumanji, Sugriva, Angada, but not the majority of the Pashus. So there's only a few of them, and they're in a cave. And again, the Chaturmasya has begun, so they can't find Devi Sita. So they're all enjoying nature. Specifically, this is the 4th chapter, and this begins with the 13th verse. In total, there are 80 references between these two maps. Our journey is going to take us through 8 of these observations. The first that I shared with you yesterday from Shrimad Bhagavatam. Everyone sees a flash of lightning. And with that lightning comes dark clouds and thunder. And for many months, they got to see the sun and the moon clearly, but now the clouds are covering that. So they can't see the shine of the sun during the day or the shine of the moon at night. And everyone sees this, but what Sri Krishna says, this is like the shine of Brahman becoming hazy, becoming clouded, becoming distracted by the gunas, the qualities of that which is finite. The practice that I shared with all of you on what we can do with this observation is to appreciate. The more you appreciate the details of your life, the more you come to understand and appreciate that your life is not finite, that your life has to be more than the gunas, that nature, there's more power than a thunderstorm, that which is behind the thunderstorm, as in the moon, the sun. And zooming in on this even more so, sometimes we get trapped in our own minds when it comes to challenges. Like suppose you had to move from Pittsburgh, or you had to have your aging parents live with you. So we get lost in our own minds. How will I move? How will I live with other people? But if you pause and think about all of the challenges that you've already overcome in your life, you will overcome that future challenge too, correct? This is why in our culture, itihasa, or history, is most important. That if we reference history, the future will be bright. Bright like that sun, not like the dark clouds. The learning from the Ramayana, as soon as a raindrop, and see this journey, if there's lightning and thunder, naturally there's going to be rain. So that drop leaves that cloud, and as soon as it hits the earth, what happens? It becomes muddy and fast, quickly starts to flow away. Everyone sees this. What Sri Rama tells everyone, this is like the jiva that gets mixed up with Maya. Where does the jiva come from? Comes from higher, correct? And then as soon as it gets mixed up with Maya, it just starts moving. Why do I do this? Why do I do this? Why do I do this? Because everyone else is doing it too. The application or practice that I had shared yesterday was to plan. To plan, in a Vedantic sense, planning is like vichara. Vichara means to filter. Vichara is the antidote to vikshepa. Remember I told you yesterday, when we don't know when we forget something, we project. That's vikshepa. So how do I slow that down? How do I stop that? Vichara. When I start to focus on that which is important, zooming on this more, a lot of our projecting, gossiping is because of lack of communication. In the many relationship retreats that I facilitate, like the Understanding Marriage Retreat we facilitated in Pittsburgh in 2014, the rule of thumb in relationships should be over communication. Under communication is dangerous. Over communication is annoying. Which is the lesser, which causes the lesser damage? It is being annoying, not under communicating. Yes. And coming back to the virtual world we live in, all of our messaging is now electronic. How can you emote with emoticons, Vivekji? Even that's such a source of misinterpretation. You know what people now define as the poo symbol? You've all seen that smiley face on that brown substance. Do you know that's chocolate ice cream? That was originally intended to be chocolate ice cream. But see how negative people are? Poo. So we should over communicate. And that's why Sheila, as in my wife, was sharing yesterday, all of the people had their cameras on because you're so strict with them. Perhaps, but my point here is, suppose for the next 4 days, we continue like this. I'll do the dishes while offering my respect to Bhagavatam and to Ramayana. You can't feel me then, correct? As soon as I turn my camera on, you can feel me more. That's bhava. Remember the word I use. The cure to bhava, which is that lack of feeling. So again, over communication. We continue. Point 1 and point 2 in our journey has been focused on. Now point 3, we go back to Bhagavatam. Where are you right now? You're supposed to respond in a hut. You're a gopa, you're a gopi. If you want to be a calf or a cow, also good. And you're looking and you're seeing there's Shri Balarama, and who's leaning on him? Shri Krishna. And everyone's observing nature. This is what they observe. I'm on verse 12 for those who wish to pretend to follow along. You know there's 18,000 verses in Bhagavatam, yes? Kshetrani sasya sampaddihi. And I'm just going to check in with our team. Ideally, everyone can be muted other than me, if that's possible. Kshetrani sasya sampaddihi. Karshakanam mudam daduhu. Dhaninam uttatapam cha. Upatapam cha. Daivadinam ajanatam. And what this means is, when there is significant rain, and that rain helps the crops, then that farmer and the owner of those crops, they feel very proud about their irrigation and the efficiency. And when that same significant rain harms the crops. Too much rain then the farmer and the owner of those crops, they feel dejected. In this case, the farmer, the owner, they have forgotten that the results of their efforts are governed by Bhagwan. That's what this verse means. That's the translation. I'll share again. You're all visualizing. I'd read an awesome quote that said, when there's too little rain, then ants eat fish. When there's too much rain, fish eat ants. See that delicate balance of too little rain or too much rain? So the same is being shared here. But what's being focused on here is the pride and the dejection that comes with the fruits, the results, forgetting that one is not in control of that. Do you all control the rain? There's a concept that is more in India. When it's hot, people express, it's hot. And then they follow that up by saying, full stop, correct? You've all heard that, you've said that. It's hot, full stop. It's humid, full stop. Now in America and Canada, when it's hot, what do? There's never a full stop. It was never this hot last year or the years before. Or I say, it's this hot in Niagara Falls. Then everyone in Cleveland says, but the humidity is more in Cleveland. There's no idea of full stop. And the point in that is because it's as if we control the weather, which is why we keep talking about it. Focusing more on the philosophy. Our maps have taught that Bhagwan is the karma adhyaksha. Karma adhyaksha. For those who are familiar with Sanskrit, what does adhyaksha mean? Or at least what does it sound like? Adhyaksha means, sure, president, because you're American, you're sharing that. Administrator makes more sense. A controller. God is the karma adhyaksha. If God is the, not if, but yes, God is the karma adhyaksha, then naturally, Bhagwan, God, would also be the phala data. Will also be the one who controls or facilitates the results of those actions. Yes? But the one who forgets this, they feel that they are the doer. And if I feel I'm the doer, then I naturally feel I am the deserver. And here I consciously highlighted the word dhani. Dhani here doesn't mean the farmer, but the one who owns that farm. Yes? A dhani is one who only focuses on dhana. Now you're all going to tell me dhana means money or wealth. Yes, but the more subtle expression of this, a dhani is one who is extrovert. Extrovert. And an extrovert will never acknowledge, leave alone accept that another is more powerful than them. Do you agree? You all know dhanis. Now, the transition between philosophy and practice. In Srimad Bhagavatam, and this comes in the next skanda, the next section, phala, which means results, in English, the translation is fruits. When you think of a seed growing into a strawberry or growing into anything, the farmer doesn't control that, correct? The owner definitely doesn't control that. They can do their best in terms of watering and fertilizing, but they do not control if that grows or not. Which is why in Srimad Bhagavatam, a phala is described as or qualified by anukshana. Anukshana. Please don't be overwhelmed by these Sanskrit words, but they're so meaningful. Kshana means momentary. And that prefix anu means completely or very. Completely, very momentary. That's what results are. Does everyone feel that? And a good way to think about this is, remember our practice where you had to visualize 10 years ago. Let's go back further to when you were 10 years old. When you were 10 years old, and please share in the chat, type it out. What was important to you when you were 10 years old? I know for some of you, it's centuries ago. It's hard to remember, but just guess then. What was important to you 10 years ago? Biking and toys, playtime, dancing, space exploration. That's right. I had a lovely conversation with our boys yesterday. We drove by a fire station. So Vyasa said, I want to be a firefighter. And I said, great. And then Shuka said, I want to be a carpenter. I said, great. And then Vyasa said, and Appa, you can also be a firefighter with me. And Amma will be an astronaut. So she can go to space. Great and greater. But my point now is, when I grew up, I also wanted to be a firefighter. I think many of us, at least who grew up in North America, wanted to be firefighters. Is there any firefighters here right now? But it's not bothering you, correct? Anu kshana. So if results are like that, should you feel pride with any result that comes into your life? Should you feel dejected by any result that comes into your life? It's all changing. Here is your practice. Your practice is insulate. Insulate. What this means is insulate yourself from the phala or the results. Insulating means you do not depend on that phala or results. Now, for everyone living in Pittsburgh, what's between your brick and your wood and drywall? What's in between all of that? Insulation. It doesn't matter how cold it is. If you have central heating, it's still warm in your house, yes? The same goes, it doesn't matter how hot it is. With your insulation, you can keep your house cool. And that's why in our culture, there's an emphasis not to focus on the phala because it's anukshana, but focus on the karma, but more specifically, the yoga that comes with that karma. What is that yoga? Your evolution. To become more patient, determined, generous, etc. That's what we should be holding on to, investing in. I find people who are results-oriented, they tend to become insular. Insular means narrow-minded. And I'm asking you not to be insular. I said insulate. Be more authentic, be more deep. Okay? Appreciate, plan, insulate. What happened? We as if drifted from our nature. We got mixed up. I start to think that this body is my nature, so I feel so unnatural. And then what happens? I try to become more natural, but how do I do that? I keep doing that based on results. And it only makes me feel more pride or more dejection. So then what do? One more quick reference to the Ramayana. Where are you right now? Share with me in the chat. Where are you? Good. You're in a cave where there's monsoons, a forest, Kishkinda. Very good. I don't know if it's a forest. I describe it more as a jungle. See, in forests, deer live there. They're more scared of you than you are of them. In a jungle, there's lions and tigers and bears for real. Jambavan is there, etc. So they're not looking at a Pennsylvania forest right now. They're looking at a jungle in the middle of Bharat. I am on the 15th verse, and this is the third chopai, the second line in the third chopai. Nisita maghana kadyota viraja jannudam hinakaramela samaja. Nisitama ghana kadyota viraja. When there is intense darkness. That's why I referenced the jungle, where there's such a thick canopy and it's nighttime, which means you can't see anything other than those fireflies. And those fireflies gather together and they flash their light and then they dim that light. Fine. Janu. Janu means like. Yata tata. Dambina kara. Like those who are hypocritical. Mela samaja. When they all gather around, what do? They're very flashy, but finally, there's no light to them. Okay? So simplifying that again. It's nighttime. They're in a cave and they keep seeing these fireflies. Shri Rama, who's reflecting on this more, says to everyone, hypocrites are the same way. How so? Hypocrites tend to gather together. And what do? They make lots of noise, but there's no content. That's the example that's given here. Now remember our journey. I'm trying to become natural. I try to do this by myself through results, but that's not working. So then what do? I try to seek help from others. Who do I seek help from first? Those who are flashy, correct? When you look at everything here, aren't you looking at the lights the most? Or at least that's the first part that catches your attention because it's flashy. Do you look at that dark fireplace back there? So lovely, Vivekji, your unused, getting old fireplace. You're not looking at that. Again, I'm going to try to be brief so we can focus on dynamics. Here is the philosophy behind this verse. This pursuit of that which is flashy leaves us more incomplete. We're trying to pursue completion. So now we're looking for help. We go to those who are flashy about this. But what are flashy people or hypocritical people doing to be complete? I shared this in our Bhagavad Gita class recently. We are attached not to karma, but we're attached to the results that come from karma. And the results that we attach to the most is money. Because it's as if money validates my actions. But it's not just money. What comes with money? Materials. That validates me even more. That's what a hypocritical person is, and they make us feel the same way. That's not just in a secular sense, but even in a sacred sense. When I ask all of you to think of social service, what comes to your mind? Go, social service. What's coming to your mind right now? Being kind, Mother Teresa, helping others. Yes, 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 yes. If you Googled it right now, I feel that the top hits in a search would be building toilets. It would be clothing those who need more clothes. And of course, that is social service, but so is teaching, isn't it? All those who administrate for Bala Vihar, all those who facilitate a study group, isn't that a social service also? But it's not very flashy, right? Who actually likes the Bala Vihar coordinator? But without them, there'd be no Bala Vihar. Yes. And that's why we have this common saying, where's the grass the greenest? Now I know you're all going to write where you water it because you've been trained like that. See? It's like magic. I say it, it gets written. But for the typical person is on the other side. These are all sentiments of hypocrisy. That I'm ignoring my life and focusing on yours. Transitioning to our practice. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 13, Shri Krishna enlists 20 virtues that Prince Arjuna needs to be able to understand that he is more than Prince Arjuna. And one of them is Acharya Upasana. Acharya Upasana. Upasana means to sit near. Now, when I say Acharya, you're going to think someone who's older, someone who knows Vedanta, someone who wears this type of clothes, etc. Fine, but the fuller meaning of Acharya is someone who leads themselves. Someone who leads themselves. Do you all know someone who leads themselves? You definitely do. And I'm not even talking about the people in this gathering right now, because I don't see too many people here who lead. We know lots of people who lead themselves. So be near them. Yes. Those people are not as flashy because they're internalizing all. And so your very clear practice here is choose. Choose. Choose what kind of people you want to be around because you're going to be like that. Choose what your purpose in life is because you're going to fulfill that. So the fourth part of this journey, those who are not learning to be natural, they choose hypocrites and they live hypocritically. What I'm encouraging everyone to do is choose your friends wisely. You may have made a mistake with your family already, but now you can't correct that. So now choose, choose your friends wisely. We've completed half our journey, going from nature to unnatural. That's where we are now. Tomorrow, we'll begin our journey on, I'm tired of being unnatural. How can I start to feel natural? What will it look like? What will it feel like? Oh. Nada. Yesterday's dynamics was you feeling your life. Today's dynamics is a self-development program. Show me a sheet of paper. You can have a loose sheet or you can show me your book. Okay. On a fresh sheet of paper, I want you to draw 2 lines across the pages to create 4 quadrants. Got it? 1 line down the middle and 1 across. You should have 4 quadrants. Squares, rectangles, it doesn't matter. When you're done, show me. Good. Okay. Move to the top left quadrant. Top left. So if you're looking at your sheet, top left. At the top, I want you to write just the letter, write the whole word, introspect. Introspect. And now our dynamics, we're practicing this together. For the next 1 to 2 minutes, I'll time it. I don't want you to write anything in this quadrant. What I want you to do is close your eyes, and I want you to listen to your own mind. Put the paper down, put your pen down, close your eyes, and listen to the conversation, to the dialogue that's happening in your own mind. Go ahead, practice. Gently open your eyes, pick up your pen. In the second quadrant, if you're looking at your sheet, top right, I want you to write down detect. Detect. And I want you to start documenting what you heard in your own mind. Start to write down. You're documenting what you just heard, what you just listened to in your own mind. Was it anxiety of the future? Was it gratitude for a family member? What was going on? Start to write that out in that quadrant. No filter, you just write. I see a lot of couples together. Moving forward, do not attend my sessions with anyone. Do this by yourself. Continue to write. And I want you to zoom in now. As you got to know your mind more, for the next 15 seconds, I want you to write down the strengths that you feel you have. What are your strengths? When you're listening to the mind, maybe one of your strengths is that you're disciplined, you're compassionate, whatever it is. Start writing your strengths down. And pause. We're still going to continue with detect. We first were writing down generally, then we were writing more specifically our strengths. What am I going to ask you to write now? I know you don't have any, but work hard on writing down your weaknesses. What weaknesses does your mind have? Do you have? And that's why you should do this alone. Because when we're with others, we are not as vulnerable. And pause. I don't want this to be too negative. Your third quadrant, that's bottom left. I would like for you to write negate. Negate. Here is where you're going to pick one of your vices, one of the weaknesses that were in detect. Now in negate, I want you to write the costs associated with having this vice. As an example, if I'm an indulgent person, the costs of that, it's bad for my health. I lack energy then. I'm always thinking about how I can indulge more. You're all feeling that? Pick one, just one of your vices, weaknesses, and start listing out the costs that come with that vice, that weakness. This is in your third quadrant, negate. And we shift to the fourth quadrant now. I want you to write substitute. Substitute. Think deeply about the weakness, the vice, and you must come up with what is the way to do the opposite. If this is the vice, what virtue will purge me of this vice? What strength will make this weakness go away? Giving you an example. If indulgence is my vice, then discipline should be my virtue. In the fourth quadrant, write down the benefits of that virtue or strength, the benefits. Being disciplined, I save money. Being disciplined, I sleep earlier. Those kinds of matters. Put that in your fourth quadrant. And when you're ready, in the chat, what I would like for you to share, I want you to share the details from your substitute quadrant. What strength or virtue are you going to work on? And if you do, what will be the utility of that? So share with everyone what your substitute is going to look like. What are you going to nurture? And why? What and why? Ashaji, you're going to substitute acceptance with anger. That's what's going to happen. I know you meant the other way, that the substitute for anger is acceptance. What is the utility of acceptance? People want to be around you more, correct? Okay, Deepa has written to slow down and be patient for everyone's peace. The more peaceful you are, the more everyone around you will be peaceful too, correct? Vedanta is very much a subject about internalization, but I do remember Swami Tejomayan and the sharing, if everyone around you is miserable, you're probably the cause. Everyone around you can be miserable unless you're doing something, correct? But that's only because you're miserable then. Manjari has shared to substitute indecision with faith. Yes, that is a good compliment. To let go of indecision by having faith. And I'm checking in with Manjari again. What is the utility of that, Manjari? Please share. all of you help. What is the utility of having faith? What is the benefit of that? Raviji shared your mind is just quieter. Priya shared that you accept more. Correct, correct. You feel less threatened. You're more joyful. Yes, yes, there's more space. Certainly, there is more space. Especially when you have to care for others, like so many of us do, aging parents or young children, or that's your profession. The more faith you have, the less controlling you are. The less faith you have, the more controlling you are. And I've already highlighted 2 verses, Bhagavatam, Ramayana, about being controlling. It makes you feel unnatural, makes everyone feel unnatural. Great. Any questions from anyone? We don't have so much time today. If you have a question, you can virtually put your hand up. I'm going to count down from 3. 3, 2, 1. Yes, Sureshi, go ahead. You're like Vyasa. When I put Vyasa in the car seat, if you don't sit down, then I'm going to take this away and I'll go 3, 2, 1. He said, you never said 1. And then he smirks at me. That's like you right now. Sureshi, go ahead.
So yesterday, we spoke about the importance of gratitude. And of course, that's important to highlight all the things that I don't actually acknowledge. But I had a question. If our goal is to get over this raga dvesha, and if it's also to appreciate the infinitude of experiences that are out there, when I do a gratitude journal or I express that in my mind, I tend to just focus on those things that actually gave me some sort of pleasure. And I might say, well, I appreciated the struggle I went through 10 years ago because it put me where I am now. But I don't appreciate it in the moment, and I only recognize those things that give me some sense pleasure. So I guess what I'm asking is, how do we intentionally express gratitude to those things that don't actually give us that immediate gratification?
Yeah, got it. So Sureshi wants to know how to be more authentic and deep with gratitude, which is a fine question. If you practice this gratitude guide, which I shared yesterday, eventually you're going to run out of writing down that which is tactile. You will run out of soft carpet, contact lenses, t-shirts, etc. And it's very much like a seeker. A seeker eventually is going to be fed up with external security. And they're going to want to create that internal security. So your gratitude will naturally deepen. If you continue with this, your gratitude will naturally deepen. What do I write today? So you'll inquire more then. That will help you to become more intentional. What will also happen through this? And for a seeker who is more casual, it will take them longer, but you're not a casual seeker. For a sincere seeker, you will start to get into reverse engineering. As an example, if you're grateful for glasses, I'm grateful for my glasses. I couldn't do anything without them. But where did the glasses come from? They came from someone who designed it. Where did that person come from? And you just keep going back until you finally have that bhava that all of this is because of that infinitude, or the expression of infinitude, which is God. Fair enough? So it's like using the Veda. The initial part of the Veda is about dharma and karma. But if you go through that, eventually that dharma leads you to Brahman. That karma leads you to jnana. Fair enough? Okay. I'm going to take Malini's question. Malini, do you still have a question? I thought
is Hariom Vivek ji.
No, yes.
This 4th quadrant that you made us draw and write down. Yesterday you had posted as what do you want to become in 10 weeks or what you want to be in 10 weeks. I just felt that probably this was like a leading answer once we write it down. that we could probably work on that. Was that your thought process, or where were you going with this 4 quadrants? If you can shed some light.
Yeah, got it, Malini. No, I just accidentally did an exercise yesterday, accidentally did this one. Who knows what will accidentally come up tomorrow? Yes, and that's why I keep saying we're going on a journey. Really, from our nature to our nature in the same way. Yesterday's was a high level plan. 10 years, 20 year actually. Today we zoomed in on it. Tomorrow we will do so more and do so more. So this is the plan, and I'm glad you're so receptive to this, about how this workshop, you shouldn't leave this workshop not knowing what to do. You should leave this workshop with, this is what I'm going to do to be secure, or the word natural. I've read many times that knowledge that is not practiced is a burden. And this is a really intense Subhashidam. It really says such a person is a donkey. A donkey doesn't know if it's carrying gold or garbage, correct? It's just carrying it. When I don't practice this knowledge, I'm carrying it, but I don't know the value of it, correct? So this workshop is to inhibit us from being donkeys. We continue to your RAD. How many of you tried your RAD from yesterday? Jagrati, Hasmukh, Roli, Dhruv, Sonia. You had to commune with nature for 15 minutes. You had to listen to nature. Please share in the chat, what did nature teach you? What did nature tell you about itself, about you? Please share. What happened in those 15 minutes? Fall with the fall and flow with the flow. Yes, and from Radhika and Priya shared, to slow down. Nature is all about generosity. And Sujana shared, it's a miracle. It's always alive, nothing is permanent. These are such amazing thoughts. Those who are not environmentalists, and I'm going to use a strong sentiment here, that means you're not a follower of Sanatana Dharma. Why? In Bhagavatam, what will come after this portion, can't remember if it's before or after, is Sri Krishna and his family. What aspect of nature do they worship? A mountain, no? In the Ramayana, after this portion, who does Sri Rama and everyone worship? The ocean. Throughout these maps, you see how much our Creator loves creation. If we are not helping creation, then we're not following our Creator. Here is your RAD for today, and I'm going to offer full disclosure here. I didn't come up with it, Vyasa did. Today I asked Vyasa, what should I teach all of the people who are pretending to learn in the workshop? And he said, don't worry, be happy. Tell them to remember, don't worry, be happy. So that's the first part of your RAD is you have to use the phrase, don't worry, be happy in 8 conversations tomorrow. We're going on a journey, correct? 8 points. So you have to use that phrase 8 times, 8 different conversations. It's not the same. You're looking at the 2 people in the workshop. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy. And the second part to this RAD, courtesy of Vyasa, is imagine that you're locking all the doors in a barn. That's it. Who knows where that kid's mind is? But if you want to do that, you can do that also. Revisiting announcements and offering a new one before I shift out. I had asked all of you to become an ambassador for Chinmaya University or to support many ambassadors that I see right here. Like, I'm just going to reference a few in Pittsburgh, like Saraswati and Dhruv, etc. Right now, we have raised $1.3 million, and that's putting us at a pace faster than $100,000 a day, which is really inspiring. Keep being inspired and sharing that. The announcement for today, right now, from 9 to 10 o'clock, I teach an Upanishad course. A few of you are in this course. I'm running late into that class. And in that class, I'm sharing with them that we've completed the Bhagavad Gita course. We're now completing the Upanishad course. Who knows, maybe Swami Tejomayananda will develop a Vedanta Sutra course or Brahma Sutra course. Those are synonyms. So we're very fortunate, fortunate about that. And for those who have missed the Bhagavad Gita course, every morning I've been teaching Bhagavad Gita. It's called Meaningful Mornings, where I take a verse up a day through Zoom, Facebook, Instagram. If you want to study Bhagavad Gita in a most systematic way, this really means over 1,000 days. That's how long this is going to take in a good way. Then join me in the mornings. I have found in our virtual world, I used to think weekly study groups were effective, and they are, but compared to a daily study group, this is just a different dimension of impact. We're fortunate that we can access. So Google Meaningful Mornings, and you can find those details. Switching it back to Satishji, Visalaji, or team, anything you want to ask or share before I finish with a prayer?
No, thank you, Vivekji.
Right on. And my gratitude to all of you. I'm going to come back to the camera point too. There was 5 more cameras on today than yesterday. So I appreciate you being threatened by my strictness. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhave. Om shanti shanti shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.
Hari Om.